There are mistakes in the world of power that never appear in any law book. They're not written into your company policy. They're not mentioned in speeches about values, and no judge will ever sentence you for them. They don't need swords. They only need your tolerance. The moment you let one wrong action slide, the moment you tell yourself, "It's not a big deal, I'll ignore it just this once," in that exact second, you are quietly signing your own downfall. This isn't a message for people who want a comfortable life. It's not for men who want everyone to like them. This is for you if you're building something that matters: a reputation, a family, a business, a throne, however small or large it looks from the outside. Because power almost never falls all at once. It doesn't explode. It erodes. A tiny crack here, a small betrayal there. One joke at your expense that you pretend not to hear. One broken promise you let pass because you don't want drama. Machiavelli understood this with brutal clarity. He knew that empires don't collapse because of distant enemies. They collapse because of the smiling faces standing right beside you, the ones who clap for you in the light and dig your grave in the dark. If you don't see it, if you refuse to confront it, you won't be eaten by your enemies. You'll be devoured by the people standing closest to you. So today, we're going to strip the mask off 7 behaviors you must never tolerate. 7 quiet poisons that don't just damage your mood. They destroy your throne, your credibility, your sense of safety. If you lead in any way a team, a company, a family, or even just your own life, you need to hear this all the way through. And if something in this hits a nerve, if it exposes a truth you've been avoiding, that's not an accident. That's your wake-up call. Let's start with the first behavior you must never forgive. 1. The person who disappears when the storm hits. People love to say, "Loyalty is proven over time." Machiavelli would disagree. He didn't measure loyalty in months or years. He measured it in crisis. On clear days, anyone can promise you the world. When money's flowing, when everything is going well, everybody looks loyal, honorable, supportive. But when the ship starts shaking, when the storm rolls in, when blood is on the floor and the future looks uncertain, that's when you see who is truly with you and who is just standing near you for the victory. You've met these people. They show up at your wins. They celebrate, drink with you, tell you, "Brother, I've always got your back." They talk like they'd die for you. Then you fail. You get hit, your status drops, your business struggles. You go through your lowest point, and suddenly they're gone. No call, no message, no, "Are you okay?" Just silence. A silence so loud it feels like a verdict. And here's the worst part. When you survive, when you get back up, they come back with excuses. "I didn't know how to help. I had a lot going on. I wanted to reach out. I just wasn't sure what to say." Machiavelli would tell you, don't believe a word of it, because nothing is louder than their silence when you needed them most. Someone who can abandon you once will abandon you again, and again if you allow it. If you forgive that kind of betrayal out of weakness, out of loneliness, out of fear of being alone, you send a message to everyone around you. There are no real consequences for betraying me. From that moment on, the loyalty you see is no longer real. It's conditional. It exists only as long as you're winning. You're no longer their leader. You're an investment. A stock they hold as long as the price is high. Machiavelli warns, betrayal isn't just emotional. It's structural. When others see that people can abandon you and still be allowed back into your inner circle, they stop believing you're untouchable. Your power stops looking solid. It becomes temporary, replaceable. And a role that looks replaceable will eventually be replaced. Here's the cold reality. No one stays truly loyal to a leader left standing alone. The one who disappeared when you were on your knees. That's the same person who will be first in line to stab you when you're weakest. They'll wear your colors, sit at your table, nod when you speak. But when it's time to actually stand with you, they vanish. You might be tempted to say, they probably had a reason. Machiavelli would look you straight in the eye and say, absence is a statement. It doesn't need a speech. It doesn't need an explanation. It is a choice. And that choice is never accidental. So when you were calling and nobody answered, when you were falling and no one reached out a hand, don't chase explanations. Just remember faces. If you survive the storm, don't let those faces return to their old positions, because every time you take them back, every time you pretend nothing happened, you're writing a new law for your world. You don't have to be loyal. Just come back when I'm winning again. That's not how you build an empire. That's how you rot one from the inside. You don't need 100 people around you. You need one who stands beside you when everything is collapsing. That one is worth more than an entire crowd that only shows up for the celebration. 2. The coward who hides behind morality. So, here's the first line Machiavelli would command you to draw. The person who abandoned you in crisis is not allowed to sit close to you in peace, not out of hatred, not out of revenge, but out of respect for yourself, for your future, and for the power you're trying to protect. You might think that ruthless enemies are the biggest danger to power. You might believe that conspiracies or betrayals in the dark are what destroy empires. But Machiavelli made something painfully clear. The fastest way to dismantle any kingdom is to place a coward on the throne. A coward doesn't always look weak. He doesn't necessarily tremble or avoid eye contact. Often, he looks calm, measured, even virtuous. He'll say, I just want to make the right decision. Or, let's take some more time to think. But behind those noble-sounding words is fear. Fear of responsibility, fear of risk, fear of doing what power demands. Cowardice often disguises itself as ethical reflection. But what it really is hesitation at the worst possible moment. A coward doesn't just lose battles. He infects everyone beneath him. His doubt spreads like a sickness through every layer of the system. The army stops believing in him. The people start whispering, and before long, no one's taking orders seriously. Imagine this. You're on the battlefield. The enemy is closing in. Everyone looks up to the commander for direction, but he's silent. He's second-guessing. He's waiting for a perfect moment that will never come. Would you still trust him, or would you start planning your escape? Machiavelli understood this perfectly. Every second of hesitation in a leader is like a knife to the heart of power. Because armies don't fear enemies, they fear uncertainty. They fear a commander who doesn't know what to do. Leadership isn't about waiting for absolute certainty. It's about acting in the middle of doubt. No one can ever guarantee the right decision. But strength means you act anyway. You take the risk when it matters most. That's the moment when every eye turns to you, when the silence feels heavy, when no one else is moving, and you step forward and say, move. Not because you're fearless, but because you know this truth. If you show fear, everything beneath you collapses. Some people use morality as a shield to cover their fear of action. They talk about peace and patience and moderation. They pretend they're being thoughtful, but really, they're avoiding confrontation. They're not afraid of doing the wrong thing. They're afraid of doing the right thing when it's hard. A real leader doesn't hide behind meetings, councils, or collective decisions. He doesn't outsource courage. He knows that true power doesn't belong to the one who waits for consensus. It belongs to the one who acts without it. That's what keeps authority alive in a world that's constantly changing. Action, decisiveness, clarity. If you want to keep your throne in business, in relationships, in life, you must learn to act first and explain later. Because power doesn't reward the careful. It rewards the decisive. And above all, never let fear disguise itself as calm restraint. People will respect a ruthless leader far more than they'll respect a fearful one. Ruthlessness commands trust because it signals certainty. Fear, no matter how well dressed, smells like decay. When the man at the top loses conviction, everyone beneath him begins to crumble. They stop believing. They stop fighting. They stop following. So remember this. Leadership doesn't mean being right all the time. It means being clear when no one else is. When the room is silent and the storm is coming, don't wait for permission. Act. Because as Machiavelli would say, hesitation is the luxury of the powerless. 3. The flatterer who poisons from behind. There's a certain type of person who never disagrees with you. They nod at everything you say. They call you brilliant. They laugh at all your jokes. They praise you so much that it almost feels suspicious. And it should. Machiavelli wasn't afraid of enemies in front of him. He feared the ones standing behind him. The one smiling too much. Because enemies keep you sharp. Flatterers make you blind. Flattery is a subtle poison. It doesn't strike fast. It seeps into your system. It erodes your judgment. It destroys your ability to see reality. At first, it feels good. Who doesn't like being praised? But then, slowly, you stop hearing the truth. You stop asking questions, and one day, you look around and realize that every voice near you just echoes your own. That's when a leader starts dying, not publicly, not suddenly, but quietly, from within. Because you can't improve if no one dares to tell you when you're wrong. The flatterers aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to access. They worship proximity to power, not the person who holds it. And once your power fades, they'll vanish, or worse, they'll join the ones tearing you down. Machiavelli warned, never mistake flattery for loyalty. A truly loyal person will challenge you. They'll say what you don't want to hear. They'll risk your anger to save your vision. Because their goal isn't to please you, it's to protect you from self-destruction. Flatterers are the opposite. They tell you what you want to hear until you start believing your own myth. And when you finally fall, they'll be the first to applaud your replacement with the same smile, the same tone, the same empty compliments. So take a hard look at your circle. Who always agrees? Who never says no? Who always finds the perfect moment to praise you? That's not an ally. That's a parasite. Machiavelli would tell you, a compliment at the wrong time is far more dangerous than an honest criticism. Surround yourself with people who dare to offend you for your own good, not the ones who drown you in sugar while sharpening the knife behind your back. Because once you start needing flattery, you've already lost control. The same people who build your ego will destroy your empire. 4. The public challenger who tests your strength power doesn't always fall to weapons, wars, or rebellion. Sometimes it's undone by a single joke, a mocking laugh, a public challenge that slips through your tolerance because you wanted to look composed. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that power survives not through kindness or law, but through the belief that you are untouchable. That belief is fragile, and it takes only one person to crack it. It starts with something small. A man mocks your decision in front of others. Someone interrupts you mid-speech. A subordinate questions your judgment publicly, just to clarify. At that moment, something happens in the room, not in sound, but in energy. People's eyes shift. A silent question starts forming in their minds. If he can challenge him, why can't I? And that's it. The illusion of control begins to fade. No one needs to draw a sword. No one needs to stage a rebellion. All it takes is one bold voice planting a seed of doubt. Once that seed is planted, others start testing limits. One disobeys a small order, another ignores a deadline, another laughs a bit too loud at your expense. And if you do nothing, if you laugh it off, if you let it slide to keep the peace, you've just signed the death warrant of your authority. Power doesn't demand cruelty, but it does demand boundaries, enforced boundaries. Machiavelli taught that any public act of defiance must be answered. Not because of ego, but because of the eyes watching. They're not listening to your words, they're studying your reaction. If you stay silent after being challenged, you've told them, "It's safe to test me." And once that happens, you don't need an army against you. Your own people will start tearing down the order you built. A single act of defiance left unpunished becomes a precedent, and a precedent becomes a tradition. The next person who rises against you will say, "He didn't punish the last one. Why would he punish me?" And they'll be right. That's how leaders go from commanding respect to being tolerated, from ruling the room to just being part of the noise. In the world of power, tolerance isn't always noble. Sometimes, it's the first symptom of collapse. Machiavelli would tell you this: a public challenge is never just about words. It's a performance, and if you don't act, you've let your challenger steal the stage. So handle dissent privately, with reason. But public defiance, never let it go unanswered. Because when people stop fearing the consequences of disrespect, they stop respecting you altogether. If someone tries to test your authority in front of a crowd, don't overreact. But make sure the reaction is decisive and visible. It's not about punishment. It's about restoring order. It's about sending one clear message to everyone watching. This is the line. Cross it, and there will be no next time. That is how you protect the sacred illusion every leader needs, the aura of control. You may not like it. You may wish power worked differently. But Machiavelli's world and ours runs on perception. Once people stop believing in your dominance, your power dies long before your title does. So the next time someone harmlessly undermines you in public, don't shrug, don't laugh, don't play it cool, because that one moment of weakness can echo through your entire empire. 5. The ungrateful who feed on your mercy. There's a special kind of betrayal that cuts deeper than any knife: ingratitude. Your enemy can hate you. That's simple. But the ungrateful? They once looked you in the eye and said, "Thank you." Machiavelli warned that nothing corrodes power faster than ungrateful hearts. Because ingratitude is not just forgetting kindness. It's a declaration that your mercy no longer matters, that your generosity was never respected, that you were merely a step to be used and then abandoned. These people don't feel guilt when they betray you. They feel justified. They believe your help was just a transaction, one that ended the moment it no longer benefited them. And if you stumble, if your power wavers, they won't just leave, they'll switch sides, whispering to your enemies, "I used to be close to him. I know where to strike." And here's the painful truth. You gave them that position. You opened the door. You trusted them. You believed that loyalty could be bought with kindness. But mercy, when given to the wrong person, feeds a parasite, not an ally. Machiavelli never said not to be merciful. He said to be merciful strategically. Mercy is a tool. Used wisely, it builds allies who are grateful, loyal, dependable. Used carelessly, it creates opportunists who learn that your kindness can be exploited. Watch how people react when you stop giving. When your success no longer benefits them, do they stay? Do they still respect you, still show up, still care? Or do they fade, like loyalty never existed? If they disappear, you found your lesson. Never test them twice. Because Machiavelli would tell you, gratitude cannot be demanded, but ingratitude must be punished. Never give a second chance to the one who turned their back when you fell. Because when you forgive that, the message spreads faster than any rumor. Treason isn't dangerous, failure is. And once people realize they can betray you and return unpunished, you won't just lose trust. You'll lose the foundation that holds your world together. So remember this: mercy is not weakness, but mercy without discernment is suicide. Give it to the worthy, never to the ungrateful, because every time you reward betrayal with another chance, you're not showing strength. You're teaching the world that you have none. 6. The ambitious without loyalty. Ambition by itself is not evil. Machiavelli saw it as the fuel that powers empires, the fire that drives men to rise above mediocrity, to build, to conquer, to create. But when ambition exists without loyalty, it becomes a weapon pointed directly at the heart of power. A man with ambition but no loyalty serves no one. He performs brilliantly, speaks eloquently, pleases every faction, yet deep down he belongs to no one but himself. He's not your ally. He's an opportunist waiting for your moment of weakness. You'll recognize him by his balance. He never argues too strongly, never commits too deeply. He stays in the middle, where it's safest. He offers to help without ever taking real responsibility. He seems indispensable, but you can never quite tell where he stands. That's because his neutrality is a mask. Behind it is a calculation. How long until I can replace you? He won't attack you directly. He'll study your every hesitation, your every flaw. He'll note how others respond to you, how your authority wavers, how your people gossip when you're not around, and when the moment comes, when the throne shakes, when the whispers grow louder, he'll be the first to step forward and say, "Let me handle it." He won't claim your power with force. He'll claim it with timing, with charm, with the illusion of competence. And when you look up, you'll realize he's no longer standing beside you. He's standing above you. Machiavelli warned, if you have a man of great talent and powerful will, but no visible loyalty, bind him tightly to your fate, or destroy him before he becomes too strong. There is no middle ground. These men are masters of disguise. They act humble, modest, polite. They avoid confrontation. They reject praise in public, but crave validation in private. They never seem threatening until you depend on them, and then they vanish. They are loyal only to opportunity, to advantage, to whichever direction the wind of power blows. If you lead, and such a person exists near you, you have two options. Either make his future inseparable from yours, so that your success is his success, or cut him loose before he undermines you. Because the moment he no longer needs you, he'll turn your mercy into leverage, your trust into a stepping stone. Machiavelli would ask you a simple question. Will this man still stand with you if you lose your power? If your answer is, "I'm not sure," then you already have your answer. He's not a follower. He's a candidate for your throne. And when the day comes, he won't storm your gates. He'll sit quietly in your chair, wearing the same calm smile he used to praise you with. He won't look like a conqueror. He'll look like your successor. So never confuse talent for loyalty. Never mistake charm for faithfulness. And never assume that silence means obedience. The ambitious without loyalty are the most dangerous kind, because they don't just want to win, they want to inherit your power, as if it was always meant to be theirs. Machiavelli's lesson here is simple. Tie their ambition to your command, or cut them off before it grows. Because every empire that rotted from within was destroyed not by the weak, but by the ambitious man who decided the king's time was over. 7. The moral manipulator. The saint who smiles while tightening the noose. There are people who never shout, never rebel, never raise a weapon. They speak calmly, smile politely, and always sound like they're fighting for what's right. But make no mistake, some of the most dangerous enemies a leader will ever face hide behind morality. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He understood that when morality becomes a weapon, it stops being about justice and starts being about control. He warned that the easiest way to overthrow the strong isn't through war or rebellion, but through emotional guilt disguised as virtue. You've seen these people. They talk about kindness, compassion, transparency, ethics. They say things like, "We just want fairness." A true leader should care more about people. You've changed. You've lost your heart. Their words sound righteous, but they're not trying to make things better. They're trying to make you look worse. Because once the crowd starts seeing you as cold or cruel, they've already begun to doubt your right to lead. That's all the manipulator needs, a seed of doubt. They don't need to destroy you outright. They just need to make people question your virtue. To whisper, "Is he really a good man?" Once that question is out there, your power begins to fracture. Not because you've changed, but because you've been made to explain yourself. And Machiavelli knew, the moment a ruler must justify himself, he has already lost half his authority. The moral manipulator wants that exact outcome. They want you defensive, explaining, apologizing, because every apology makes you smaller, every justification makes them seem purer. They use morality the same way a skilled swordsman uses a blade to make you bleed slowly while looking blameless. They don't need to say you're evil. They just need to convince others that they're good. That's how power shifts. Not through coups, but through comparison. Machiavelli warned that people are emotional creatures. They don't rally behind logic. They rally behind whoever makes them feel righteous. And the manipulator knows this. So he performs morality like an actor performs a play. Every gesture rehearsed, every word designed to trigger sympathy. He doesn't want truth, he wants applause. He doesn't want justice, he wants the spotlight. And if you tolerate him, if you allow public virtue to challenge private authority, you'll teach everyone else that morality can overthrow command. Soon, every ambitious pretender will copy the act. They'll learn that all it takes to weaken the strong is a tearful speech about conscience. Machiavelli saw this trap long before it became common. The crowd starts to believe that nice equals good, and strong equals evil. Once that happens, leadership becomes theater, and the most convincing performer wins. But leadership is not performance. It's discipline. It's the ability to act when others freeze, to decide when others doubt. A ruler should not be chosen because he is moral. He should be chosen because he is capable of maintaining order. But moral manipulators twist that truth. They'll stand before the people and pretend to defend them, saying, "We just want a leader who listens. We deserve better." And the crowd nods, not because they understand, but because they feel. Emotion is contagious, and moral manipulators are experts at spreading it. The true danger is this: If you respond to their accusations, you appear defensive. If you stay silent, you appear guilty. That's the beauty of their trap. You can't win by playing their game, so you must refuse to play it at all. You don't debate morality with actors. You act decisively, without explaining. You show through strength what they try to prove with speeches, because as Machiavelli said, a ruler must learn how not to be good when goodness threatens his power. Now that doesn't mean cruelty. It means clarity, the ability to see the difference between true virtue and virtue used as strategy. Real morality doesn't need an audience. Fake morality cannot survive without one. The truly ethical advisor will approach you in private. He'll tell you the truth quietly, with respect, without undermining your position. But the moral manipulator needs a crowd. He performs for witnesses. He wants others to see him as the conscience of the group, the brave truth-teller who dares to question authority. But he's not correcting you, he's campaigning for your throne. So what should you do when morality is weaponized against you? You don't silence every critic. You don't punish honesty. You punish the performance. Private correction is loyalty. Public shaming is rebellion. Treat it as such. Because when one person gets away with moral posturing in public, others follow. And before long, your authority is replaced by emotional theater. Decisions stop being made through discipline. They start being made through pity. And pity has never built an empire. Machiavelli would remind you, mercy is a tool, not a duty. Mercy should strengthen your rule, not weaken it. Compassion should serve justice, not replace it. Because once you allow emotional manipulation to define what's right, you've already lost control of what's true. Empires don't fall because their leaders lack kindness. They fall because their leaders become apologetic. The moral manipulator thrives on that weakness. He wants to see you hesitate, to see you question your own judgment. Because the moment you doubt your own authority, you hand him the keys to your throne. So hold your line. Be fair, but firm. Be strategic, but unyielding. Don't let emotional speeches turn into political leverage. And don't mistake guilt for morality. When morality becomes a stage, when tears become tactics, when righteousness becomes performance, that's when power dies. Machiavelli never told us to be cruel. He told us to see clearly, to look through the smiles, through the polished words, through the concern that hides ambition. To recognize that behind every moral attack might stand a man who simply wants your place. If you forget this, your fall won't come from a sword. It'll come from applause, from praise for the man who claimed to be holier, while quietly replacing you. So guard your throne not with paranoia, but with vision. See the actors before they take the stage. And remember, in a world where virtue is often performed, the only true morality that still commands respect is strength.